Welcome to Wednesday evening vigil, the 2nd of January, going on the 3rd of January, because it's just gone midnight and it's now Thursday morning here in the UK. So we welcome you to our 30-minute of reawakening the I Am presence within us. So let us just come as we are, as a beloved of God, and reawaken the I Am presence within us. And as we begin, we just quietly reflect. Just reflect on the silence around you as you breathe in the air of love. And in this place, there is peace, there is love, there is joy, there is friendship and fellowship. Be still now and just allow yourself this short time in what may have been a busy, tiring, stressful day, and just connect with the rhythm of your breathing, your higher self, your child within. And as we relax, we become mindful of our position and how we're sat, and whether we choose to lie down, stand up, or sit. Just make yourself comfortable. And if you're wearing tight-fitting clothes, loosen them so that you can enjoy the relaxation and the meditation. And if you're wearing shoes or slippers, it would be a good idea to remove them and just have your feet bare on terra firma, Mother Earth. And we just come to this place with hope in our heart, with hope and a sense of peace. And now, as we begin to take our first in-breath, let us do so to the count of 4. As we begin, 2, 3, 4, let us hold that breath. 2, 3, 4, and release. 2, 3, 4. And just go with the rhythm of your breathing and allow yourself experience peace. Peace. And as you are now relaxing, you are sensing the messengers of God, the angelic realm, come into your space, providing you with aspirations to reawaken your I Am presence within, the Father, Mother, God who created you. Just feel the rhythmic flow of your in-breaths and your out-breaths, and just be still. There is no fear here. There is no fear, there's no worry, only joy, pure joy. And now that you are relaxing, just be aware that all around you, the air in the room has changed. It has become positive energy, and it has filled your place with a peace. And as you sit and relax, I'm going to share with you a reflection for this new day. And the reflection is titled, A Journey of Surprises. Our notion of God is mediated to us through parents, teachers, and clergy. We do not come to know God directly. If our experience of parents and teachers has been of dominating people who show little affection or respect for us as persons, but value us only insofar as we conform to their expectations, then this experience is bound to affect our notion of God and will influence the way we relate to God. Although I may know in my mind that God is not like that, I may still experience a strong distinction to approach Him without knowing why, and find 1,000 reasons for not praying. I am too busy. I prefer to find Him through my work, etc., etc. We have to pray constantly to be rid of false notions of God, and we have to beg Him to teach us how He is, for no one else can. God is known by God alone. As one of the early writers of the Church said, what we are praying for is not merely an intellectual knowledge, but a felt knowledge which affects our whole being and therefore affects the way we see ourselves and the way we see other people and of course the world around us. This felt knowledge of God changes the patterns of our thinking and therefore of our acting. It breaks open the cocoon of our minds and hearts and liberates us from the constrictions which our upbringings and present environment are imposing upon us. To become aware that we have a distorted notion of God is to have made progress on our journey towards Him. As the journey continues, we shall discover other distortions of which we are not aware. Such discoveries can be very painful at first, but it is like the pain we feel when our limbs are at last free after being constricted. It is the pain of freedom. The journey to God is a journey of discovery, and it is full of surprises. Let us just focus on those words, and let us just sense, what do they mean for our heart? Because you and I both know that the word God for a lot of people is a word that doesn't resonate with them, because many have grown through childhood into adult life not even hearing the word God, and then suddenly they come across a live stream channel such as this and they hear me talking about how wonderful, how patient, how tolerant God is with His children. And it can do one of several things. It can make them feel confused. It can make them feel angry. Angry because they may have been wounded by religion. They may have been wounded by God's representatives. And I know I've met quite a few in my ministry over the years. But God is a loving God. And though men and women who've been trained for ministry, whether it is as an imam, a rabbi, a priest, a monk, a nun, a shaman, a healer, whatever, they are instructed always that God is a God of love. And that in that love there's an invitation. But because we are human, and And we are not infallible like God. We are fallible. We make mistakes. We get it wrong. I've got it wrong so many times. But when you represent a God of love, you take on a new job description. You've got to try and enter the mindset of that God and not become a born-again, evangelical, frightening individual who preaches hell on earth, which has happened to many of us when we were growing up as children. I know it certainly happened for me growing up in Dublin, where the priest had a lot of power, and that power engendered fear. The times I remember my mom and dad having a scrap or an argument, and one of us would say, we'll go down and get the parish priest, and suddenly they'd both stop because they knew what he was like. He was a man that took no prisoners. And it was the same when we went to school. We were petrified of the nuns. And when I look back now, it's so silly. But it was drummed into us that the big voluminous habits that they had, we were told that they had pockets inside those habits for naughty boys. And if we were really bold or naughty, we would be put inside one of those pockets, and that the nun would stand over a grid, and she had magical powers that would open the grid and we'd disappear into nothing. And strangely, we grow into adulthood with some memories of those situations, but I guess behind it all, someone was playing mind games with us as children. And I remember my bestest friend. We were about 10 or 11 in Dublin. He was a Protestant Church of Ireland, and I, of course, was a Catholic. My bestest friend. We did everything together. We went fishing together. We told stories together. We practically lived in each other's back pocket. But when our parish priest got wind of it, he was so angry. And he more or less said, I hope you're not going to that church. They're heathens, they're sinners, they're going to hell. And I said, no, but why? Don't argue with me. Well, you daren't argue. Because of the fear. And a lot of our peers, brothers and sisters who've grown up through that form of strict religious upbringing, they've rebelled. Many have rebelled. And those who still go to church do so out of fear. Like my poor mom, who was dying. She was petrified of going to hell. Petrified. Because of all that was ingrained in her as a little girl. But today, we have the opposite extreme, where a lot of people don't know about the existence of God. And they go through their life wondering what is missing in their life. And suddenly they find it, but not in the religious context that I did. They find it in a more all-encompassing way of life that you and I would call spirituality, which doesn't have the restrictions. It has the freedom to explore God and embrace God in love. So to take this journey into this new year and embrace a loving God and understand that God isn't a vengeful, punishing God. He's a loving God, but He's a just God. And He asks us to surrender our heart and trust. Not easy to trust when you're the breadwinner in the home or the one who does everything for everybody, and suddenly you're told to let go of that and trust. It doesn't seem right. You want to keep on track and doing and doing and doing. But that's what God is asking us to do. To trust that when things go wrong, good will come from them. And I can only speak from experience, and one experience was 2 days ago. I had to go into the neighbouring village to get some groceries, and I had the 3 dogs with me in our car. Yes, it made a funny noise going, but 3 miles away was our little village. And when I came to get in the car with the groceries, it wouldn't start. The engine wouldn't turn over, the battery was dead, and I thought, dear God, it's a holiday, where do I go with this? And it's a 3-mile walk from here to home in the pouring rain. So I thought, right, 3 dogs out of the car, locked the door, took the basic essential groceries that I needed, wrapped up well, and we began the walk. It was wonderful, it was invigorating, but it was very exhausting, especially as you're walking along the narrow roads that we have, and a car comes along and there's lots of puddles and you get drenched. I guess a lot of people's prayers were being answered when that happened to me. But finally I came to a back lane that was a shortcut off the main road. And then I suddenly realized it was a dead end, because there were workmen who dug the center of the road to create like a ravine, with one of them down in it, and I could just see his shoulders. And I said, oh dear, I really don't want to walk on the main road, because I have 3 dogs and there's no place for me to walk. Is there any way you could help me cross this? So they got a plank and they helped me across with my walking stick and 3 dogs. And I thought, thank you, God. You are a loving God. You really, they could have said, no, go back. And I knew I would be risking the life of one of the dogs, because the cars travel quite fast. And there was a full tide in coming up over the road. But God was good, and I carried on walking, lots of puddles because it was an unadopted road. And I just prayed that Ernie, our car mechanic, who had a garage in this little laneway, and I knew from reading his Christmas card that he wouldn't be opened until the 3rd or 4th of January. And this was New Year's Eve. But I prayed with all my heart, and I just said, dear Lord, I really do need a miracle. And as I'm walking past the entrance to this yard with fields all around it, I could see a light where Ernie normally has his garage opened, and I thought, oh wow. So I walked up with the dogs and I could see Ernie, and I thought, dear God, this is a miracle. And I shouted, Ernie, can you hear me? And he said, yes. What's the matter? Where's your car? I said, it's in Milnthorpe. Dead battery, won't start, and I've just walked here. He said, good Lord, come in and let's dry you down. And let's see to the dogs. He said, I bet it's been a good walk. I said, yes. It was an invigorating walk. Yes, I'm out of breath and a bit out of condition, but that's good for the soul. And then he took the car keys and he said in an hour he'll collect the car and he'll drop it off today, which he did. And it was the alternator that needs replacing and the battery. Yes, it's going to cost a few bob, but you know, it proved to me that when your back is to the wall and you've nowhere to turn, as I had nowhere to turn, and the daunting prospect of that long walk home with 3 little dogs in the pouring rain was not my choice. But out of the disappointment, out of the frustration, when you hand it over and ask for help, help came from a loving God. And I share that with you, not to impress you. By no means do I want to impress you. I just want to assure you that whoever is watching this recording, whoever you are, if you're in a down place and you feel that your life, you're losing a grip on it, or you feel heavily burdened or saddened, promise me this: don't give in. Just get on your knees and ask our loving Creator God to send you help. And if you're willing to wait, if you're willing to trust, you will be blown away, as I was, with the man in the center of the road up to his neck. And there was no way I could cross that with 3 dogs, but himself and his work colleague put a plank there. They both held my hand as I crossed this narrow gate over this deep crevice, and they each lifted the dogs over. Where would you find such kindness today? I found it, and I couldn't thank them enough. And then the garage was closed for the holiday, but suddenly, out of the blue, and Ernie said, "Oh, I just got a premonition I had to come back to the garage." And that seemed to me that an angel of God spoke to him to come and open the garage, because he said, "I'm not supposed to be here." So miracles do happen if we're willing to take the journey. And the journey is a positive journey. Yes, it has its ups and downs. Yes, it has its trials. But doesn't life? Doesn't giving birth? Doesn't watching your children grow through their teething problems and their problems at school? But when you surrender your heart to the Supreme, to a loving Father, Mother, God, and you're willing to wait for them to act to support you, you'll be blown away, as I was. So let us come now, and let us, as we've said earlier on, to relax and just experience the healing touch of a loving God. Let us come now. Let us come into this place and just feel the peace, because there is peace. And often we don't see it or feel it or sense it because our mind is troubled. So let us relax and let us just visualize a pleasant scene, a place where we feel really safe. It could be in our back garden. I know Mary, a dear friend in Dublin, she has a beautiful tree and she loves to go there. I love to sit in the garden and be still and not get overwhelmed with everything. So what I'm saying to you is, just come into your heart and feel the love, and there you will know that all is well, that God is good. And as you sit and relax, just call on the Supreme. You're given the gift of free will, and that gift is a precious gift, and it's your gift. So let us now ask lovingly for the gift of faith, the gift of hope, the gift of peace. And as we relax, just become aware of the messengers of God, the angelic realm, for they are here. But because we don't see or feel them, it doesn't say that they're not with us. They are with us, and they love us, and they care deeply about us. So my advice is simple: trust. And if we take a deep breath now, let us experience that sense of trust, that sense of ownership, that we are a beloved of God. And whatever we do, whatever wrong decisions we make, whatever wrong turns we take in our life, there is an inner knowing deep within us that we call conscience that will prick us and remind us that we are not abandoned, here to survive alone. We are surrounded by love. Let us see before us a beam of light, and that light is becoming very strong. It is a strong light. It is a pure light. And that light is now showing us a pair of hands. And those hands are real hands. And as we look up from the hands, we actually see the face of Christ, the cosmic Christ. We see the face of the Beloved, and He's smiling. And He's saying something to us. What is He saying to us? Well, what I share with you now, is all channeled from Him. And it was given to us from the cosmic Christ. It's saying, refresh yourself in the peace of my presence. It's saying, this peace can be your portion at all times and in all circumstances. Learn to hide in the secret of my presence, even as you carry out your duties in the world. I am both with you and within you. I go before you to open the way, and I also walk alongside you. There could never be another companion as devoted as I am, because I am your constant companion, as devoted as I am. There should be a lightness to your step that is observable to others. Do not be weighed down with problems and unresolved issues, for I am your burden healer. I am your burden bearer. In the world you have trials and distress, but don't let them get you down. I have conquered the world and deprived it of power to harm you. In me you may have confident peace. These are the words of the Master. These are the words to reaffirm in you and me that we are not alone. And the journey that we're on is an amazing journey, for it shows us our strengths and weaknesses. And they mustn't frighten us, because when we are weak, we can become strong. Thank you for allowing me into your space. You take care and God bless you. Namaste. Shalom inshallah paxet bonum. Om Shanti. Solo di Caritas. Peace.